rebuilding. The catastrophic failure, a new start. Physically, mentally, our careers, our businesses. Step back, first step, next step. The driver in me just wants to get it done tomorrow. We'll do this, do that, let's move this, where are we at with this? You build some confidence, build some self-esteem, start to feel better about yourself. The Silverback Blueprint Podcast, a show for men over 40. We focus on getting stronger, staying motivated, building discipline, creating a community, and becoming truly happy. Hey guys, before we get started on today's podcast, I just want to take a minute to let you guys know that our new Work Hard Motherfucker t-shirts are now available at hostilegear.com. Head on over there, use the code Silverback and save 20% and get this badass t-shirt. I know a lot of people have been saying, hey, what a great idea, can't wait to get it. So now it's up there, it's in color, it looks awesome, and make sure to get yours AS to the AP. And now, on to the episode. Hey guys, and welcome to episode 80 of the Silverback Blueprint Podcast. Today we're going to talk about peace of mind that comes with clarity. So over the last few episodes, we've been talking about clarity of intentions, just focusing, stripping away all the things that aren't needed, that get in the way of what we're really trying to achieve. And albeit whether it's personal, business, family, job, career, whatever it is, whatever you've deemed as important for you to pursue and be, present for, is to start making it clearer, right? We talked about some exercises. I gave you guys 5 steps to do. We're going to come back to that in a couple episodes where I'm going to share with you what I've done, what my answers and responses were towards that. And one of the things that's really cool, and I was thinking about this and trying to, see how that clarity is starting to happen for me. And it's not in all areas of my life. I wish it was. And my goal is to get to that point. But things are getting clearer. Some areas more than others. And at times, some areas versus another area. So depending what's happening and how well I'm dealing with, the filtering of what's happening around me in my environment and how I'm able to use judgments and filters to take away what's important from that scenario that's in front of me, and how to, again, not let things adversely affect me that, I can't do anything about. So again, an ongoing thing. It's a skill set we're going to develop. But then I started to think about what situations do I come to mind for myself when I get into that peace of mind and that clarity and that focus. And I was thinking about one of the areas for me, actually, that it's probably the most evident is, and I think it's for everybody, when we're trying to work on something, we have a lot to do, we have a busy schedule, and especially if we're working on a task that has, at first many moving parts and a lot of organization stuff has to happen first, and maybe it's dependent on someone else finishing certain things before you can move forward. But when we get to the point where we're getting past that chaos as we're getting ready to do this project, and we actually get to the point where we begin to execute, we actually start to calm down. I'll give you an example. With Hostile Gear, we're always coming up with new designs, right? For t-shirts, for hoodies, and everyone's always got suggestions, and I see cool things, and it gives me a great idea, and I get excited and I want to do it. But, to take something from that idea all the way to the point where it's time to print it, there's actually a lot of steps, right? First is, we have to go back and forth with a design. So I'll work with our design people with an initial concept. I often call it the napkin drawing, where I'll turn around or napkin sketch and I'll come up with something. I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it. And I say, hey, this is kind of where I'm looking at. Let's put our hostile touch on it. And then sort of go back and forth a bit. I get a couple examples of it. This is what I like, this is what I don't like. Sometimes I'll ask a couple inner circle people their feedback, what they think. Then I usually just ignore them. No, I'm only kidding. I like to get a little bit of outside my own headspace, that kind of point of view. Once that's done, then we actually have to get, because we do our own printing, the old school way, we actually have to get the screens prepared and get them done and get them picked up. I don't do them anymore. I used to do them myself, but I'm not very good at it. And I have a company that actually does it quite well, and they set it up really well for me. So it's a great little service to have. And as I'm getting the screens ready, I got to make sure I have the t-shirts or the hoodies or whatever I'm printing on have to be available. So then I got to make sure, do I have the right sizes? How many do I need? Got to get them ordered, get them in, get them set up. Then I got to get it all set up on the press. So once everything's there, we get to the press, we got to line everything up, we got to test a few things, a lot of little steps to make it work. And then once everything's there and everything's set up, sometimes it's just a matter of me scheduling the time. Right? Hey, I want to go there. And I usually like to print at night. I share a space, so I like being there at night when it's quiet. And during the day, I'm busy. I'm busy working on stuff behind the scenes during the day. I'm in the gym at Hostile, usually between 5 and 10 p.m. when people are there, right? So to oversee what's going on and deliver some classes and stuff. So lots going on. So typically, I'll pick a night and I'll get to my t-shirt spot, 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and then get set up and stuff. And then at that point, so many moving parts have had to happen. Many things are often waiting for one thing or another to get completed. But when I'm finally there, set up, everything's ready to go, and I print that first t-shirt, it gets calm quickly. All the chaos ends, and all of a sudden, I only have one focus: printing the shirt or printing the hoodie or whatever I'm printing on. Sometimes I just do it in silence. Just hear the hum of the machine, the dryer, and I just work on it, and I'm taking my time. And, it's always cool to see something that you've come up with, and all of a sudden now it's on a shirt, it's on a hoodie. It's actually really quite cool to see a creation happen like that. It's exciting. It's a real sense of accomplishment. Just getting something to the point where it's done. We talked earlier about just getting things done, seeing things to the end. And this is one of those prime examples of that. Sometimes I'll listen to a podcast. There's 3 or 4 podcasts I like to follow. Sometimes I'll listen to one of my own episodes to see how I'm sounding, what it's looking like and stuff, what it's sounding like. In my mind, I sound like Lauren Green from Mutual of Omaha. Remember that when we were kids? Nowhere close to Lauren Green. Remember Adama from Battlestar Galactica, the original? He just had that crazy baritone voice and stuff like that. I wish I had that voice. And then sort of a check-in to see how it's sounding and stuff and how it's flowing. And then sometimes I'll listen to music, but most often it's either silence or a podcast. But what's really cool is that my mind starts to, loosen up or unburden. It's quieter, right? There's nothing coming at me. The noise is falling away, right? The clarity, the peace of mind starts to set in. I find it therapeutic. I think it reminds me why I also like working with my hands sometimes. The creation part of things overall, seeing the brand unfold another way, that kind of stuff, that sense of accomplishment. And I actually get energized from it. So sometimes I'll be printing, 11 p.m., sometimes until 2 p.m. in the morning, 2 p.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. in the morning. Because I get right into it, depending on how many pieces I want to do and what's going on. But rarely does it feel like I'm there for hours. There's a point where I'll get a little tired, I'm getting a little stiff, and then I'll look at where I'm at and I'll check the time. But other than that, once I'm in that zone, once I'm finally there, I find that makes a big difference. So I think that's a great example of when we strip away a lot of the noise and the sounds and just the things, the chaos coming at us. The more we can do that, the more we can settle into what we want to do, the more we can focus, and the quieter it becomes, and the quieter we become. And when we get quiet, what's really cool, when we calm, we can actually start to hear thoughts in our head, right? We can actually hear, and sometimes there's, in our subconscious, there's something that that's there, that's not quite breaking through, that we need to hear, we need to pay attention, we need to get that message. And it's in these times where all of a sudden, you start to hear that message that's been waiting to come along, right? Quite often you'll have it too, if you've had a stressful day and you finally get home and you get to bed and it's quiet and you lay there and you can actually hear your heart beating, right? Well, that heart's probably been pounding all day, but you've had so much noise and stuff coming at you around you all day that you didn't hear it because it was drowned out by the chaos, by the day-to-day, by the influences out there. But when it's finally quiet enough, right? You can hear that heartbeat. It was there the whole time. But finally, you're at a point where that's all you can hear. And I think it's super powerful. I think it's really cool. And it makes me realize that the more often we can do this, the more often we can zone into what we have to do, the more often we can take care of the things we have to that are in the way, right? Either strip them away, remove them for our lives, or deal with the stuff. There's chaos that we have to deal with. There's chaos that we create ourselves. If we're not organized, if we're not scheduling things properly, if we're not taking the time to do the small things on a regular basis, right? Then we got to clean all that stuff up. It's often like if you want to come home and you want to cook a really good meal and you're really hungry for something and you're looking forward to it, but then you realize you got to get home and you got to clean the entire kitchen before you get to the point where you can cook the meal. Now, had you just cleaned up after yourself after the last meal, it'd be so much easier. And I think that is super powerful. And I think that's when we're going to be able to do some of our best work. I think that's where we're going to get the most out of our creativity. I think that's also when we're going to be able to recharge and rebuild our energy, and then start to look at things and take that quiet time and evaluate what's going on daily, weekly, monthly, right? Reposition. Remember we talked about course correction and stuff, and knowing, begin with the end in mind. Well, it's in these times when we're quieter and we can do it in a controlled environment, that we have a chance to really do an honest evaluation. And it's going to get easier. It's going to get quieter. And if we catch ourselves and, we find ourselves, we're often stressed and, I'm tired and I'm angry, right? We'll start to catch ourselves, I think, sooner. And then we'll start to question is, why am I feeling that way? And what is it I can change about it? Is it something I need to do I haven't done? Is it something I can't do anything about and I just have to figure out a way to manage it, right? And I think the better we get at doing that, the more skilled we become at that, the easier it's going to become, right? I don't think, it's not about becoming a monk, and walking the streets, from town to town with no other stresses around you and that kind of stuff. We're not the A-Team, right? What's that Carradine movie? Kung Fu used to walk all over the place and solve people's problems and stuff like that. I'm not fucking doing that, But I think there's a lot to be said, and I think that's maybe why we kind of like that idea of just taking things away. I think what happens a lot of times too, as we get older, we realize that the chaos of our lives, trying to acquire this and have this and the new this and the new that. After a while, if we start to really work on things, we start to realize that that's not where the real happiness comes from, right? But being able to, minimize a bunch of that stuff, take away, declutter our lives, declutter our minds, declutter our homes, right? It becomes more peaceful. Right. And to me, I think that's really, really cool overall. And I think, we if we can do that on a consistent basis and we say, hey, listen, that's just part of what, my 2018 goal is to be more mindful of decluttering and calming things down and being more purposeful and have clarity. We're going to achieve so much more with a fraction of the effort. The heavy lifting's at first, changing the things and having those hard conversations with ourselves and those people around us to make the changes have to get done. But once we get past that heavy lifting, that initial heavy lifting, and then we just get up and we say, this is my purpose, this is what's going on. We answer the question when somebody comes up to us, is this moving us towards our vision or our goal or away from it? If it's moving us towards, it's a yes, it gets some time, it gets some energy from us, right? If it's not, then it becomes an immediate no. The more we get done, the more things are going to come at us. So we have to get better at saying no. And we get excited. As we start to achieve more, we get excited and we get this idea and that idea. And people are bringing ideas and they want to do this and you should do this and you should do that. And that's great. But the problem is, unless it's really in your wheelhouse and it's really part of what your vision is, right, and where you're going with things, then it has to be a no. And it can be a no and, hey, let's put this on the shelf for later, right? It has some merit, but not right now. I've got this couple of things I need to see to the end first, right? Or it can be just a hell no and move forward. And once we have that framework to be able to judge things off and compare, what's happening to us and how we're moving forward, it becomes simpler, it becomes easier. Now, people around you might not like it, right? They might think you're, this he's an ass, or he's super focused, or he's got no, what's the word I'm looking for? No objectivity. He's not open to other ideas, and that's fine. Right? At the end of the day, truly, if you're trying to be, really clear and move towards your goals, well, you lose some of that objectiveness. You lose some of that openness and stuff like this, right? Because you have to protect where you're moving with things, right? You have to guard that energy and guard that focus because we only have so much. And especially initially when we're making changes and rebuilding, right? Our energy levels aren't at the highest, right? Our self-esteem isn't at the highest. So it's fragile. So I think we get in there and we start calming and we start protecting, we start really focusing on rebuilding our energy and only focusing on the things that are important to us, that we've deemed important to us, specifically laid it out, said, I want to do this. I want to spend more time with my family. Well, what does that mean? Well, if it's more time with your family and just saying that I want to spend more time with my family, that's not good enough. You got to come up with a plan and say, you know what, every Sunday night we sit down as a family for dinner and let's start with that, right? Or every Friday night it's movie night. That's a way to spend more time with your family if you want to do that. But it's got some specific actions. Everyone around you knows what it is. Everyone's agreed to it, right? So that everyone knows what to expect. And then you build your week around that. Hey, sorry, I can't do that stuff on Friday night. It's movie night with the family. Well, whatever, you don't have to do that. No, dude, I really have to. It's important. Right? For us, we use church. We go to church on Sundays. That's a big time for us because at the end of the day, sometimes that's the only hour we're going to spend together as a family. And then we usually break into a lunch after that, or I'll take one kid and go to this hockey. And my wife will take the other kid and go to that event. But we have that hour together. And again, it's quiet and we get a chance just to be around each other, right? And the chaos is removed. It's quiet. And we energize together. So lots of powerful stuff comes from that kind of stuff. But again, skill set, guys, something we have to practice. But the more and more we do it, I think we're going to realize just how powerful it is. And I think we're going to get excited by it. I know I am. And I'm going to want to do it more often. How do I put myself in this position more often? How do I spend more time in a day in this situation where I've got the peace of mind because of the clarity? And then how do I make it last all day? How do I make it last 4 days a week, 5 days a week? How do I make it last all week long, right? That's the cool part. Guys, that's all I have to say on that. Head on over to iTunes or check us out at the end of this episode. Leave us a 5-star review. Head on over to Hostile Gear. Use the promo code Silverback to get 20% off. Keep your eyes out. We got some cool stuff happening on the website at hostilegear.com. Also at kurthoss.com, we got some cool stuff that we're starting to add some more resources for you guys. And of course, on our YouTube channel, we've got some cool videos and different things paralleling also what we do in the podcast, but training and some different stuff like that. That's all I got to say for now, guys. And don't forget, guys, work hard, motherfuckers, and I'll talk to you guys later.